Hey folks, how's it going? So in this video, I want to talk about layoffs that we're going to be seeing in 2024. Uh, we're already seeing a trend just in the first month of the year, and uh, it's my belief that this trend is going to continue well into the year for a couple of reasons. One, and again, this is just my opinion. I believe that you're going to see more and more layoffs before you see the Fed cut interest rates. Before they start cutting interest rates, they're going to have to see unemployment rise, because that's been what they've been saying for the past year, is they have to see that unemployment number rise before they'll start cutting rates. So I think you're going to see more layoffs this year, uh, and when that happens towards the probably the tail end of the year, you're actually going to see some progress on the Fed cutting rates. Up till now, the Fed has just had this position where they're going to maintain their current position of just wait and watch, while at the same time the stock market is getting all hyped up about, oh, they're going to start cutting rates, they're going to start cutting rates. No, that's not what the Fed is saying. The Fed is saying that they're going to wait and watch. And they've said for over a year now that they need to see that unemployment number climb before they'll start cutting rates. So those are just two reasons that I think you're going to see layoffs increase this year. Another is, and it uh, directly deals with one of the companies that I'm going to talk about, is you had a lot of protests last year, a lot of union protests and strikes of people pushing for more money, more benefits, more time off, things like that. So that's going to play a role in the coming layoffs as well. Uh, the jobs report has come out, and it's being touted as a really good jobs report. I'll get into that in my next video, uh, just to save some time. But I've got three articles here. The first one is by CNBC.com. It's a super short article. January hiring was the lowest for the month on record as layoffs surged. Companies announced at the highest level of job cuts in January since early 2023, a potential trouble spot for a labor market that will be in sharp focus this year, according to a report Thursday from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. The job outplacement firm said planned layoffs totaled 82,307 for the month, a jump of 136% from December, though still down 20% from the same period a year ago. So that's the article. It's super short. But what they're saying is the layoffs jumped 136%. But to put that in a good light, they compare it to uh, the layoffs from when we were in the middle of a shutdown. So I don't that you understand how they're trying to spin this as it's not as bad as it looks. Uh, it's still 136% jump from what? From the entire country being shut down, essentially. Okay, so you know you got to watch these spins where they're going to try to make it sound better than what it actually is. All right, so the next article from FoxBusiness.com: layoffs surged 136% in January to second highest level on record. I'm not going to read this whole article; it's 4 pages long. The pace of job cuts by U.S. employers accelerated at the start of 2024, a sign the labor market is starting to deteriorate in the face of ongoing inflation and high interest rates. I would also add that it's also in the face of higher wages and, again, tying into the deals with unions for more money. That is according to a new report published by Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, which found that companies planned 82,307 job cuts in January, a substantial 136% increase from the previous month. However, that is down about 20% from the same time 1 year ago. Again, they're trying to make it sound like it's not as bad as what it sounds like by comparing it to when we were just starting to recover from a shutdown. Sorry if you hear that in the background, folks. Somebody is playing some really loud music. I I came out here for a little peace and quiet and got somebody over here blasting the radio. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I can, and it's annoying. All right, so waves of layoff announcements hit U.S. based companies in January after a quiet fourth quarter, said Andy Challenger, Senior Vice President of Challenger Gray and Christmas. The cuts were driven by broader economic trends and a strategic shift towards increased automation and AI adoption in various sectors, though in most cases, companies point to cost cutting as the main driver for layoffs. Uh, Financial companies bore the brunt of job losses in January, with the industry shedding 23,238 employees. That is the highest monthly layoff total for the financial sector since September 2018, when it announced 27,343 job cuts. The technology sector followed by 15,806 layoffs, the most since May 2023, and a stunning 254% increase from just 1 month prior. The impact of rapidly advancing artificial intelligence adoption is beginning to be felt from a jobs perspective, particularly in media and tech, but truly across sectors. Challenger said. That said, companies are not outright blaming AI for many layoff decisions. And production companies also accounted for a large swath of job cuts in January, slashing 6,656 positions, the highest monthly total for the sector since November 2012. Challenger said that high costs and advancing automation are reshaping how the industry operates. It goes on and on and on. Another source of layoffs in January was retail stores, which trimmed 5,364 positions in January, a significant increase from the 110 layoffs announced in December. The top reason cited for job cuts last month was restructuring. Companies blamed stores closing and artificial intelligence for the layoffs as well. Uh, the unemployment rate is expected to inch higher to 3.8%, roughly. All right, so I want to go through this list here. This is just a list that I threw together real quick this morning. It may not be complete, uh, but this is what I was able to put together in just in a few minutes of the companies that have laid off just since January 1st. Alphabet, Google parent company Alphabet Inc. is reporting slashing jobs with its innovation lab called X as it adopts a new structure. I have no number at the moment for that, the number of layoffs. Amazon announced on January 10th it was trimming the headcount within its media divisions. America Airlines on January 30th confirmed plans to lay off 656 employees in its customer support department as it consolidates into one team. In total, 335 employees in Phoenix and another 321 in Dallas Fort Worth. Business Insider is trimming approximately 8% of its workforce as it restructures. Citigroup announced on January 12th it was planning to cut 20,000 jobs as it continues to execute its ongoing reorganization. Deutsche Bank said on February 1st that it was cutting 3,500 bank office jobs as it aims to shave off billions in operational costs by 2025. So I suspect there's going to be more layoffs behind that. Uh, eBay eliminates about 1,000 jobs, which is about 9% of full-time employees. Forbes will lose 3% of its workers. Google said on January 17th that it was planning to lay off several hundred employees on its advertising sales team in another round of cost-cutting measures. Humana to have limited layoffs. There was no number given. That was announced on January 16th. iRobot. Amazon and iRobot announced on January 29th that they agreed to terminate the planned $1.4 billion acquisition of the vacuum maker after facing hurdles from the European antitrust regulators. iRobot said it was axing 31% of its workforce. Okay, Levi Strauss and Company announced plans on January 26 that it will be cutting up to 15% of its global corporate workforce as it restructures under new leadership. Microsoft to lay off 1,900 workers at Activision Blizzard and Xbox on January 25th. The layoffs represent an 8% cut of its video gaming staff of 22,000 workers and come months after Microsoft acquired Activision in a blockbuster deal. Okta announced on February 1st that it is cutting 7% of its workforce in order to fulfill its commitment to profitable growth while running the business with greater efficiency. About 400 employees will be impacted by the move, according to a regulatory filing. Sports Illustrated to lay off significant number of employees after a licensing deal fell through. No number given for that. Twitch cuts 35% of its workforce, which is a subcomponent of Amazon. So Amazon owns Twitch. So that's 35% of that workforce in a blog post. UPS has announced plans to cut 12,000 jobs after its revenue forecast missed analyst estimates by, I want to say, $9 billion. Wayfair lays off over 1,600 employees on January 19th. So these are not insignificant layoffs. They may not be in the hundreds of thousands, but this is just within a 1 month period. If this continues over the course of the year, you can see where this is going to go. It's quickly going to cause unemployment to spike, which is, as I've said in the past, which is what the Fed wants before they'll start cutting rates. All this expectation from the stock market and economists and analysts that are expecting the Fed to start cutting rates within the next few months. I could be wrong, but it's my belief that you won't see these cuts until well after the middle of the year. It's going to be in the third, maybe even the fourth quarter before you see any kind of cuts, possibly even into early next year. Because that number, they're not going to be happy with that number inching up by 0.1% or something like that. It's going to have to jump up considerably. And for that to happen, you're going to have massive layoffs. You add that to an economy that is already struggling with inflation. People are having to go out and get second and sometimes even third jobs just to be able to afford to buy food and pay their rent or their mortgage. You can see where this is going. People are struggling. It's very important, in my opinion, that you work towards building self-reliance in your own life. Self-reliance from the systems of support provided by society. You've got to be able to provide at least a little bit of your own food. You'll never be able to provide 100% of your own food and get completely off grid. There's always going to be something that you're going to need that you're not going to be able to produce yourself. It's just unrealistic to try to reach that goal. But 60, 70, 75, even 80% is not unrealistic if you're in the right situation, if you're in the right position, if you have land and you have a willingness to work for it. I'm not saying that everybody needs to be at the 80, 90% mark, but every little bit that you can grow, produce, preserve through either gardening, hunting, fishing, foraging, trade and barter, any of those things, the more you can produce that way and preserve and put up, the less dependent you are on the grocery stores and a fragile supply chain system that will inevitably have issues with shortages, sporadic shortages or widespread shortages, either one. The more you can produce, the better off you'll be. You need to be able to have a backup source of water and a way to filter that water. You need to be able to produce at least some degree of electricity to power certain things in your home. Like if you need an electric heater, you don't have a fireplace or a wood stove or anything like that. If you need an electric heater in the winter, you need to be able to produce power to run that heater. You need to be able to produce power to run a refrigerator. Fans or something in the summer, particularly if you have elderly people in your home or people on medical equipment that need some sort of reliable power system. You need to be able to deal with coming rolling blackouts due to the push to get off of fossil fuels and go strictly on solar and wind and other green energy. So again, food, water, energy, uh, those things they're the basics, but they're important. They're very important. And the more redundancy you can build into your life, the more self-reliance you can build into your life, the freer of the system you will be, and the less that system can oppress you or coerce you into doing what it wants, as we've seen happen in the recent past. Have another source of income. Don't rely on just your day job, or even if you have two jobs, you need to have side hustles. You need to have passive income streams if possible. Never rely on just one source of income, because you're setting yourself up for failure if you do. There's the old adage, two is one, one is none. Well, you can even go so far as say three is two, two is one, one is none. Four is even more. However you want to look at that, but redundancy is key to building self-reliance, self-sufficiency, and independence from a system that seeks to control you and watch you every second of every day. All right, so that's all I've got. I've got some work I got to get done, so that's all I got for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Uh, Stay safe, stay alert, keep prepping, don't get complacent. And until next time, folks, I'll catch you later.